suspect here. But our next story here, it is a preview of what's to come at the bottom of the hour as we are getting new information here as Tupac Shakur there. We all know of the shooting death that happened back in 1996. Well, there was a major break in the case on Friday. A suspect arrested there and charged for his murder. I mean, this is big stuff here when you're talking about a cold case that's going on for this long. And we are going to continue to break it down for you right here on Live Down from Fox. I want to bring in our next guest here. He is, wow, you got such a great resume. It's Charles Big Angry Adams. You're a former police officer, judge, and now a criminal attorney. A great resume there in helping us to break all of the action that we will see soon coming up here. We appreciate you here on Live Now.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
All right, so let's get right into it here. When this news broke on Friday, it was a shock for so many because you think about the Tupac Shakur case, and it was something where this investigation was going on for so long, and it was a cold case, and you thought, okay, they're never going to, find who this is. And then we have a suspect arrested.
Well, I think that's the portrait that the Las Vegas Police Department and the government generally is trying to paint. I would take tremendous exception to that. I have represented a number of hip hop artists in my career and have many of them as my close friends. And it has been painfully apparent that Las Vegas PD was simply not interested in pursuing this case for a great number of years. Keefe D has Duane Davis, who is commonly referred to as Keefe D, the man charged who is facing an arraignment in just half an hour. He has been very brazen about his participation or involvement in the death. They have been aware for a long time that at the Soul Train Awards, just prior to the murder of Tupac, that there was some sort of altercation between the Notorious B.I.G.'s camp and Tupac's camp, Bad Boy Records and Death Row, that Keefe D was involved in against Tupac. We have long known that his cousin, or nephew or cousin, Orlando Anderson, was the alleged trigger man. So for me, it's more of, I'm shocked that they're finally doing something about this, as opposed to I'm shocked that they've identified a suspect, which is, I think, the dishonest narrative the police department is pushing.
Yeah, and what do you think? Do you think it was because of the Netflix documentary that kind of, re-brought this into the public sphere? I mean, is that what it's taking now for maybe influencers or different documentaries to hit? It's something that we saw with the R. Kelly case. There was a documentary on there, and then look what happened to R. Kelly. Is this something similar?
Mike, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. We have so much crime in America that goes ignored. Very often high-profile crime doesn't go ignored, but I think it speaks to the prioritization in Las Vegas of that police department and that district attorney's office of the value of Tupac's life. It's very easy for the government to quietly write him off. Well, he was involved in gang activity. He was a hip-hop artist. So if he was a mainstream country and Western artist or somebody else, it might have had more of a compulsion to get something done. But I think absolutely the documentary, absolutely the media attention from people like you, and of course now everything is driven by the evil social media influence that seems to dictate everything in this country at this moment, from politics to criminal justice policy.
Yeah, so true there. I'm glad that you brought that up as well. But what can we expect today for the first arraignment here of this suspect? Kind of give our viewers a little preview of what we'll see at the bottom of the hour.
Well, this is, it's the pageantry of the process, right? In yesteryear, arraignment was a big deal because it would be the government officially telling a defendant what they're facing and what they're charged with. Well, this is 2023. All of that information has been disseminated electronically. Everyone is aware. There's nothing that's going to be shocking here. I anticipate that under Nevada state law, he is going to be charged with open murder, but the focus will be first-degree murder. He will absolutely plead not guilty. There is zero chance that we're going to have anything shocking happen today. This is just a defined part of the process where they will read the charges, and it's my understanding there's been an enhancement because of his alleged involvement in a subset of the Crips street gang. So there is a gang activity, and so we'll hear the charges. He will be looking at most likely either life with parole, life without parole, or 50 years with parole. There's a possibility of the death penalty. I do not expect it. No one has been executed since 2006 in Nevada, and I don't know if the aggravating circumstances exist. But if he has a violent criminal history, which I'm not familiar with Keefe D's criminal history, it might be enough to trigger a death penalty charge. I don't expect we'll see that. He will most certainly plead not guilty, and then it'll move on to the discovery phase. And what I anticipate, having looked at some of Keefe D's or Duane Davis's writing about this, he suggested that the shooting was a reaction to Tupac reaching for a weapon. I think there'll be a self-defense argument at some point made. I think we'll also have the argument made by Duane Davis that he was not aware that Orlando Anderson was going to use the firearm in that manner. I don't think either of those hold water, Mike, and I think ultimately we'll see a conviction.
And let's go back into the investigation as well. And it almost seems like it was low-hanging fruit on the suspect here, where, he was talking about, being part of that caravan in that car. And just how does it go from, 27 years to now where we finally get something?
Again, I think it speaks to Nevada and America in the 1990s valuation of the life of African-American hip-hop artists. And obviously, we've greatly evolved as a country. 2023 is very different from the mid-90s, 1996. And I do think that, as you mentioned, the media attention, the social media attention, but I don't think as a former police officer, I think it's absolutely absurd. And what they're saying at Vegas PD is they're saying, oh, well, Keefe D has made these public statements that have allowed us to act. And he has been very brazen, both in his book and in interviews, almost cocky about his presence and his knowledge of the, I think, I don't know what was finally the trigger for them to take action, but it's long overdue. And I don't know why, other than just a hunger for attention, why Duane Davis was putting himself out there, and his involvement. So what you have is something called the law of parties, or a conspiracy to commit. And it seems like from his statements he was under the misimpression that if he identified another member of the car as the shooter, that he wouldn't have criminal liability for murder, which he absolutely does. But if you dig deeper into the story, it's very clear that they went out seeking Suge Knight and Tupac because there was an altercation between Orlando or their group and Tupac's entourage at a casino earlier in the evening, right? The big question I think that we're waiting to see is if this was Duane Davis leading his crew to go try to assassinate Suge and Tupac in retaliation for the earlier incident, or there was a greater degree of involvement between these warring East Coast and West Coast parties. Because obviously at the Soul Train Awards just a few weeks before, you had this bad boy death row, almost a violent altercation. And we did. I'm 51 years old. I absolutely remember, and I think most of the younger viewers don't have any, ability to comprehend how present this East Coast versus West Coast rap beef was back then, and how much violence was associated with us. I do not think Biggie Smalls, or the Notorious B.I.G., I do not think that, Sean Combs, I don't know if it's P. Diddy, Puffy, I don't know his current name.
Yeah.
Not a fan of East Coast rap. But I don't think we're going to see them implicated, right? I think what we're going to see ultimately at the end of this is we will see that Duane Davis, there'll be evidence that he led his crew to seek out Tupac and Suge, and with the desire to kill the men, and ultimately it's what took Tupac's life.
Yeah, to think about, I mean, we're going back these many years. This was a story that was on Unsolved Mysteries. Robert Stack was doing a story on, Tupac being killed on in Las Vegas. What would you say, though, going back for our viewers here that might not know 1996 Nevada, is it and was it a good old boy nature with the police? Is that kind of what was going on there?
Well, I don't necessarily know if it was a good old boy, right? Clearly, Duane Davis, a Los Angeles area gangbanger, isn't going to benefit from the good old boy network trying to prevent him. I think personally, they just didn't care, right? That they didn't see his death as a priority. That, I was a police officer in the 90s. I was a police officer when this incident happened. And you have wonderful police officers, wonderful public servants. I think law enforcement is unfairly demonized in America by a great number of Americans today. But you also have problematic parts of policing that need to be reformed, which is something I've been very vocal about for years. And you have law enforcement energies being misdirected or directed in different places. And I think that the Las Vegas PD simply didn't prioritize it. And it's bolstered by the fact there was litigation, right? Tupac's family, Orlando Anderson, Duane Davis, their group filed litigation against Tupac's estate, seeking monetary relief or award for the prior assault, which led to a countersuit by Tupac's estate and his mother for his murder, right? I mean, I think that everyone that has been paying attention to this, and most certainly the law enforcement community in both Los Angeles and Las Vegas, has been aware who committed this shooting, has been aware of Duane Davis's involvement. So when I hear Las Vegas PD make these announcements, this is persistence, and that's absolutely nonsense. This is just finally someone's doing something.
Yeah, so true there. And I'm so glad that you were able to come on and really give us the analysis and the setup preview here for what we'll see in this arraignment, and talk about not only the history of the West Coast, East Coast rap battles, but also Tupac as well there. We always appreciate it. Charles, thanks so much for being here on Live Now from Fox. And coming up in just about 15 minutes, Fox Soul will actually be simulcasting our coverage, and I know you're a contributor there as well. So thanks again for being here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you so much for having me, sir.
No problem. You take care. And of course, we always got you covered here on Live Now from Fox. We will be bringing you the coverage at the bottom of the hour from Las Vegas there, where we will have the suspect in court, and we'll be bringing that to you live, raw, and always unfiltered right here on Live Now from Fox. All right, everyone, we do have the shot available here to us. So this is the courtroom just coming in. Want to bring that to you soon. The Tupac murder suspect will be in court for his arraignment. You're going to watch it live, raw, and unfiltered right here. Coming back in just two.
TGIF.
Julia Brown said, I want to know about Q escorting his nephew on his first day of school.
Live and interactive.
Everybody knows Isaac is my heart. It's the closest thing to parenthood I'll probably ever get to. And I'm looking forward to chaperoning on field trips and handing out pizza to all the little children.
On Fox Soul.
And tell one of them to step on his foot and then he gonna beat him up. This the Q I know.
It was beautiful for like 30 seconds. It was beautiful.
Right?
you see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
For you live now from Fox, and also we are joining in on new viewers joining us here from Fox Soul. We appreciate that as well as we gear up for the coverage of the Tupac murder suspect in court. We just got the video live feed from the courtroom. This is in Las Vegas, everyone, and we are awaiting the moment there for the murder suspect to be in court. So let's just break down, kind of give you, a 10,000 feet view of what's going on here in this really a timeline of this murder case here that is really at, times. We're talking 27 years, cold case. And that the major break in the case happening on Friday here. So the suspect here, Duane Davis, charged for Tupac Shakur's death. Davis, who is now 60, charged with 1 count of murder with use of a deadly weapon and with the intent to promote, further, or assist a criminal gang. That is from Clark County District Attorney telling reporters back on Friday. If you remember our coverage, and for our folks here that are joining us on Fox Soul, what we tried to do is bring everyone the latest live coverage, top stories, breaking news, and boy, Friday was a breaking news day when it came here to this Tupac news of the murder suspect being arrested. We're talking, let's go back 27 years to this investigation that really plagued them for so many. Davis has been on the police radar since the crime happened, having admitted to being inside a Cadillac where shots were fired that night near Las Vegas Boulevard. Now, if you remember, that was the scene just moments before the shooting where a fight happened. And we just had an analysis on talking about the East Coast, West Coast rap battles at that time. I mean, it was intense. And it was the rap songs between Tupac and Biggie were huge, and the disses, and ultimately both of them being shot at and killed there. But now we are taking a look here at the suspect, Duane Davis, who is to be alleged mastermind here of this heinous crime that happened in Vegas right after a prize fight at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas that was brought on by Mike Tyson knocking out another opponent, and then chaos ensued in Las Vegas here, and finally we are getting some sort of formal closings here. Obviously, he is still a suspect here, Duane Davis. He is going through the court proceedings, but that major break, I mean, think about it. From 1996 till now, of course, there was investigations talking to people that were at or near the shooting, but last Friday, it really, really brought in the focus here of this investigation, finally bringing in a suspect of the shooting. And here's a live look, everyone. This is a live look at the courtroom here where we will see the suspect there. He is 60 years old right now. Duane Davis, going to be on a murder charge for Tupac Shakur's death, everyone. So we will, of course, be bringing that to you live, raw, and always unfiltered. For our folks at Fox Soul, we appreciate you coming in and joining our coverage. We always love to have new viewers, and what we try to do is bring you top stories, live feeds, breaking news elements. Pretty much if it's live and it's happening now, good chance it's happening on Live Now from Fox, and now Fox Soul joining the coverage as well. But we go back out to Vegas right now for just about 9 minutes away, and usually these things are right on time. They don't seem to have another court case ahead of them, so we will see the suspect, Duane Davis, there being brought in on this murder charge, as investigators describe Davis as one of the 4 suspects responsible for the 1996 drive-by shooting that happened there, Las Vegas Boulevard, right after a Mike Tyson prize fight. Nevada grand jury indicted Davis on 1 count of murder with a deadly weapon. And, of course, we will be bringing you that coverage here on Live Now from Fox when it happens in just moments. I do want to take a 2-minute break just before this happens so we could get that out of the way. Stay right here with us. You're watching Live Now.
What a disaster.
You're a disaster.
This is a disaster.
You can't be ready for every little disaster, but you can prepare for a big one. Make an emergency plan today.
Welcome inside the black box.
So you guys ready to have some fun?
Forget the acting studio. I'm here with you guys.
Creativity will find its way. It doesn't matter what the ethnicity is.
Television and movies are the mediums of stereotypes.
Just because we all have the same color don't mean we have the same experience.
Your uniqueness is your greatness.
Welcome inside the black box.
Every Monday on Fox Soul. TGIF.
Julia Brown said, I want to know about Q escorting his nephew on his first day of school.
Live and interactive.
Everybody knows Isaac is my heart. It's the closest thing to parenthood I'll probably ever get to. And I'm looking forward to chaperoning on field trips and handing out pizza to all the little children.
On Fox Soul.
And tell one of them to step on his foot and then he gonna beat him up. This the Q I know.
It was beautiful for like 30 seconds. It was beautiful.
Elon Musk posted on Twitter expressing his willingness to participate in a cage fight with Mark Zuckerberg.
McMillan and Mara.
I don't give 2 damns about Elon Musk, and I don't care about Mark Zuckerberg, who helped to facilitate the onslaught of social media, which is ruining democracy and destroying, slowly but surely, black culture.
Every Thursday.
I hope they beat each other's brains out.
Neither one of them can go back to work.
Neither one of them can go back to work.
That might not make it on the social media page.
Here, thanks so much again for joining us here as always on Live Now from Fox, and for our special viewers that are joining us from Fox Soul right now as we gear you up for the Tupac murder suspect in court for the arraignment. Live look at a Las Vegas courtroom right now as we continue to wait for that moment. Should be happening in the next 6 minutes or so. I do want to go out to my colleague, though, Janae Francine, who continues to help us break down the latest here in this Tupac saga.
A top story of the day. The man police and prosecutors call the, quote, shot caller in the 1996 shooting death of Tupac Shakur in Las Vegas is due to appear today before a judge on a murder charge. Duane Keith D. Davis was indicted Friday and accused of orchestrating the plan to shoot Shakur and of providing the gun that the authorities believe Davis' nephew used to do it. A lot here to unpack, so joining us this morning here on Live Now from Fox is the one and only Sierra Norris. She's an attorney and a founder of Norris Law. Sierra, good morning to you as always. Thank you for joining us here on Live Now from Fox.
Good morning, and of course, per usual, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, so Sierra, I mean, growing up, it was a big thing in households. Who exactly killed Tupac Shakur? There was a lot of speculation of different people who he was surrounded by, and now we have someone in police custody that's being accused. Talk about how we got to this point.
So I want to first point out that everybody in the car that Davis, Keefe D, is now claiming to have been in are dead. So the last known survivor of this incident is Suge Knight, who's in jail, and Keefe D, who it just gave this interview to DJ Vlad that kind of just rocked everybody's world on what exactly happened that night. We are here because essentially he has admitted to an act before the shooting that would make him an accomplice, accountability, whatever you want to call it, that would make him now responsible or held accountable for whoever pulled the trigger that ultimately and allegedly killed Tupac Shakur. So we are here because a confession of some kind has been made. Multiple confessions have been made, but now I believe that the nail is finally in the coffin on the last one.
And so today he's doing court. I guess many would call this a first appearance. What happens during these proceedings?
So typically what happens in a criminal proceeding is, one, they need to determine whether there's enough evidence at this point to hold that person. It's called a Gerstein hearing here in Illinois, and then immediately bond or detention, however one would call it, where he's going to be. So you have to be brought before a judge to determine bond. So today is probably going to either do that or they'll get held over for a very short date to see if they will probably place him on bond for this charge.
And you raise a great point, bond. Do you think with the severity and the heightened aspect of this case that is a reality for Keefe D?
Well, if I was his attorney, I would say it was a reality. I mean, the two pillars of bond are flight risk and danger to the community. Let's start off with danger to the community. One, he's not really claiming to have pulled the trigger. He's claiming to have passed it. It's 27 years, some odd years later. He's an old man. He has cancer, and he's not going to hurt anyone. And he hasn't been complicit in any crimes since that I know of. Additionally, flight risk. This person essentially walked himself into the police station. So we can basically bet that he's going to make himself available to the court, and he's not going to skip out on court, and that's the main question. As far as the way that the evidence could go, I mean, obviously right now they have a confession, but I would spin that as taking responsibility for the situation that would undermine whether he needs to be held in custody. So I think he actually has a very good chance of getting bond, honestly.
All right, Sierra Norris, attorney and founder of Norris Law. Is there anything else you'd like to add about this case? I know many people on the edge of their seats waiting to happen. Court expected to happen at 11:30 Eastern time, so we're all awaiting to see what will happen.
I think that this is going to be a case that's closely followed. I think that we're only really going to have the words of Davis at this point. The evidence is probably stale. The police officers that investigated are probably long retired. This is going to be based off of basically the information he gives us. The only thing that calls into question for me is that I believe that at the time they had enough to at least charge some of these guys, and they didn't. I think the question that everyone is going to be asking, and a question that's going to remain a theme in this trial and in this case, is why now? What are the motives? Did they have enough years ago? And why is this coming up? The only other thing that I would add is, according to his statements, Davis's statements, there's a few facts already that come out to me as a criminal defense attorney. Basically, he's saying his nephew shot across the car. That's not something you typically see in gang shootings. So I'm curious to know where this confession is coming from, if it's the truth, if he wants to make some money off of it in his later years in life. So I think the real question is why now?
All right, so that was the coverage from earlier. We are back out live right now and Live Now from Fox and Fox Soul. Thank you so much again for joining us here. I am your host, Mike Pace. We do want to go out to Las Vegas right now. The suspect is in court here. Tupac murder suspect, Duane Davis, just entering in. Let's listen in live right here on Live Now from Fox.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we're going to continue this matter for 2 weeks on a Thursday. That date is?
October 19th at 9 a.m.
Okay, we'll be back on that date.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right. Mr. Mendoza, your case should be done quick. Yes or no, was it here?
All right, everyone. So that was the end of the feed there. It looks like they are going to continue it on for another date there. Just wanted to bring you that coverage right here on Live Now from Fox, as it was just, I mean, we had it from the very beginning. It only took about 20 seconds there. But again, Duane Davis there inside of the courtroom here, Tupac murder suspect. So we are going to have to wait for additional days here to learn a little bit more about this arraignment. But of course, we want to continue our conversation right here on Live Now from Fox and really continue to bring in some people that can give us some analysis, insight on 27 years it took for a cold case here to have a suspect in court. We just watched that moment play out in front of us. Very brief. It looks like they are going to be doing some court jargoning here and advancing it for another day. But I want to bring in a special guest here on Live Now from Fox. This is Coco Dominguez, Fox 26 Houston reporter, as well as Fox Soul contributor. We appreciate it here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's just talk about, the big breaking news that happened on Friday. You were doing special coverage there for Fox 26, and I just want to first get your really, insight of when that news broke. What were you thinking? What were some of the first thoughts you had?
Well, the first thought I had is this can't be happening. It came out of nowhere. I mean, we've waited for so long, and I'm currently actually reading a book. I'm halfway through it. It's Stacey Robinson. It's the only authorized biography from the estate, from Tupac's estate. So it was already resonating with me. I'm one of the biggest fans. So I was happy to hear it, but it just kind of brought back a whole lot of, memories of when it happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I was telling our guest here that we had moments before an attorney just speaking on this cold case for people that just don't know. 27 years that we learned about the shooting, we saw it, and then it just goes cold for all these years. It was on Unsolved Mysteries. Robert Stack was doing stories on this. And, it's generational now, this story.
It is very much generational. I got a chance to meet Tupac the year before he passed at Club 662, the club that he was on his way to in '96, and he never made it. I was a huge boxing fan because of Tyson, and those days Tupac would bring out Tyson. So I had, it was an after party that I met him at, and you can kind of tell, like Charles Adams was talking earlier, you can tell the tension. Even when I met him that night, I was kind of going through the crowd at the club, and I'm trying to squeeze in between two people, and I look up, it's Tupac and his bodyguard. And the bodyguard had his hand in the back of Tupac's pants, kind of holding him by his belt loop, not just standing next to him. He had a nice grip on his pants. So that kind of told you where everything was at that time, how intense it was for him to even either to stop him from lashing or kind of retaliating or whatever, or someone trying to snatch him up. So that was kind of where we were living in those times.
And what would you say that you met him there? What would you say the vibe was on Tupac? Because I'm just seeing, from interviews that he did there in the past, I mean, the guy had energy from the morning till sundown, it seemed like.
Yeah, the vibe was very much, when they brought it in, I'll just say the club was very red, a lot of people in red. So that was kind of maybe more of a comfort zone. I'm not really sure, but the vibe, he seemed to be in good spirits. When he initially walked in, it was Mike Tyson, it was Forrest Whitaker. It was right after the Tyson fight. And everyone knew you get there early after a Tyson fight, you get there quick because Tyson is quick. So we made our way over there, and the energy, he came in not long after. The club was kind of still empty when he came in. He was in a good mood. My girlfriends were we were on opposite sides of the hall from where the VIP was. We were separated by that, and my girlfriends were kind of like waving at him, and he was, smiling and in a good mood, and he seemed to be in good spirits at that time, and then the club did get packed really, really quick. We all knew there was a back way to get to 662. If you had been to any of the Tyson fight, you don't go down the Las Vegas Strip, you go down the back way. So that's how you get there quicker, and that's kind of where we got situated. But I was a 17-year radio DJ before I started doing features on Fox 26. So I was in the hip hop, music. I did CHR as well. And there was a lot happening even after Tupac's death. We actually had Suge Knight come through the city after it happened, and it hadn't even been addressed. I mean, there was a lot of talk about, people just wanted answers. And so he came by the radio station.
Wow. So, I mean, to think about all those memories dating back 27 plus years now, thinking about that in Tupac and really just rap in general at that moment. Coco, do you think with rap stars now that we have here on the current playlist that are going out on radio, is there anything even close to what Tupac and Biggie were bringing not only to the airwaves but to the stages and music festivals?
I don't think the depth is there, and I won't speak so much for Biggie. I mean, I love Biggie, but his lyrics were different than where Tupac came from. So what I'm reading now, and I'm not even sure if Stacey's going to have to put another ending, because now we might have an ending to how the story ends. But to call Tupac at this point, and consider yourself, if you're one of the biggest fans, you think you knew everything there was to know. We've seen the documentaries, we've done all of that, but you will only realize that you probably know 15, 20% of who he was. To call him a rapper is really a slap in the face to who he really was. He was a thespian, he was a revolutionist, he was so smart and was fighting for his people and fighting for his community, and that it was expressed in his lyrics. We're thinking, everyone's coming to get him, and he's not, that came from somewhere. His mother was a Black Panther. He was taught to fight against oppression. So his lyrics will never be the same as what people are putting out now. The lyrics now are a little bit more repetitive, a little bit, they're not going in depth as to a struggle. And we found rappers who have faked the struggles, just to get the lyrics out, but it's not the same. He was writing lyrics, poetry way before he was writing lyrics. At 8 years old, he was writing poems that you would just, jaw would drop. So I can't wait for this book to come out, and there's a lot to still learn about who Tupac was.
And if you're just joining us here on Live Now from Fox or Fox Soul, we continue to talk about the murder suspect in court. We saw it briefly. It only took about 20 seconds because the arraignment has been continued for 2 more weeks, October 19th. So I just want to give the update there to our viewers that are joining us. But right now we continue our conversation with Coco Dominguez. Always great to talk with you. And, I want to talk a little bit more about Tupac because my friend Nitin got me involved in Tupac and his songs back when we were in high school. And to hear some of his messagings and just his total energy on these songs was absolutely amazing. When you hear him talking about when we ride on our enemies, and you can just hear him screaming that, and it's coming right from the lungs. I mean, that is what made Tupac, right?
Absolutely. And his enemies weren't always the ops. They weren't gang members, and they weren't always that. They were people who were fighting for the rising of the Black community. Those were enemies also to him. The government was an enemy to him. Just anyone who he felt was not fighting for the same things that he was fighting for. I think that's what, when I go back and listen, as many times as we've listened to the music, it hits a little bit different now. It's so much different than what I thought. You know, people, he was a drug dealer. The drug dealer took him off the streets because he wouldn't make people pay him. He's like, don't worry about it. He was not the drug dealer spit. I know people see the same images, and that's what we've seen for the last 27 years. Spitting at the camera, spitting at this, and, you know, cursing people out and all that. That was a kind of maybe a couple percent of who he was. That's just a reaction to what he's been dealt and the things that he's been fighting all of his life. I mean, it's just been so long. We all wanted answers. And I remember when Suge Knight came to the radio station. So he stopped by another radio station first, but, you know, Suge has spoken out recently and saying, you know, free Keefy D. I mean, we heard it from, you know, he did an interview. So a lot of people were wanting to know, you're in the car with him. You don't know anything. You don't want to talk about anything. And so I remember when he came to the radio station, he had left another radio station in town. And they said, okay, he's on his way to you guys. But he got mad because they made him put out his cigar in the studio. He kept smoking there. And a bunch of tires were slashed in the parking lot. No one said they saw him, but they were like, all of these cars came up, and we're like, I don't know what's happening. So he comes over in his half-smoked cigar, comes in the studio, and, you know, everybody's kind of doing their entourage pictures. And then when he was on his way, I was telling the DJ, I'm like, I can't wait for him to get here. I'm going to ask him. I want to ask him why he took Tupac down the main strip. We all go down the back way. And so he got in there, and it was myself and Mean Green. It was the Mean Green show. And he says, Coco has something she wants to ask you. So it was my time. And I asked him, and I said, why would you take him down the strip when we all know there's a back way?
Yeah.
And you took all of his bodyguards and you took him down knowing he just got in a fight. So I did ask him that. And it was about 30, 40 seconds of silence. He just kind of grabs a cigar and looks at me like, who is this person asking me? I don't even know if anybody had ever asked him. Everybody was scared, afraid of his punch. You know, he was intimidating and he was big. And he looks at, you know, the DJ and looks at me, and not one word. He didn't say anything. So I just looked at Mean Green and I was like, I'm done. Have a great show. And I walked out, but there was nothing he could say. I can't wait for all of this to play out. I want to hear everything that we have to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I want to do right now, Coco, if you don't mind, I want to go out now to the Clark County DA. He is speaking right outside of the courtroom. If you don't mind staying on, let's play out this one live, and then I'll bring you in for some more insight and analysis on the back end. How does that sound?
Sure. I'll stick around.
Okay, let's go to it right here live on Live Now from Fox and Fox Soul right here.
Take a lesson, Charles. I know. Okay, everybody ready or no?
1 second.
Okay, it sounds like everybody is ready. Okay, most of you folks know how I do this. I'm going to make a short statement and then take a few questions. Please try and respect each other when you ask the individual questions. So good morning, I'm Steve Wolfson. I'm the Las Vegas Clark County District Attorney. This morning, Duane Keith Davis made his first court appearance here in Las Vegas pursuant to the indictment, which was returned last week, charging Mr. Davis with open murder with use of a deadly weapon with the gang enhancement. I want to say first off that Mr. Davis enjoys, like any other person in this country charged with a crime, the presumption of innocence. Today, he is presumed innocent until a court proceeding, a criminal justice system, proves his guilt.
Today was the scheduled arraignment, but he can't be arraigned until he has a lawyer. Mr. Davis announced that he has retained a lawyer. I believe his name is Edie, spelled E-D-I, Fall, F-A-L-L, who is a lawyer out of California, is my understanding. Lawyer Fall couldn't be here today, so Mr. Davis asked for a 2-week continuance. That's why the judge put the case over, I believe, until October 19th for his arraignment. That is when he will formally enter a plea of not guilty, I believe, and then at that point, the judge will set a date for jury trial. So that's what occurred today in court. Nothing will occur in the next couple of weeks until the next court appearance when his lawyer appears. Mr. Davis is being held on no bail. That no bail status will continue at least until his next court appearance. We will continue to ask for a no bail setting because we believe under Nevada law and the evidence in this case that the proof is evident and the presumption is great that he will be convicted of first-degree murder, and that allows us to ask for a no bail setting. I'll take some questions now.
Steve, what does it mean after so many months of work from your office to see him in court today?
Well, he's no different than any other defendant. I mean, we had a feeling this day was coming in the recent history based upon some of the events that have occurred in the last few years and few months. I like to see the person in person because on these cases, it's usually me that makes the ultimate decision on how to proceed. So I like to look at a person who's being charged with a crime in such a high-profile case. I like to look at their mannerisms. I like to look at their demeanor. I like to listen to them and kind of get a feel for their attitude.
Steve, can you say if he's been cooperating with investigators, if he's talked at all?
I understand that the day of his arrest, they were speaking with him, but I don't have anything further to say other than that. I'm not going to comment on anything involving that other matter.
Elise Preston, CBS News. This is such a high-profile case, 27 years in the making. Can you talk about how that could impact the legal process moving forward?
Well, it's a cold case. It's been lingering for 27 years, but I felt there was sufficient legally admissible evidence to move forward. That's why we presented it to a grand jury. The grand jury agreed that there was probable cause to return an indictment. But this case is like no other case. In a court of law, we have to present sufficient legal evidence to hopefully prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Any case that's 27 years old sometimes presents some challenges, but we feel very confident that the criminal justice system will work in this case.
Is there any reason to fear for his safety with that gang affiliation?
Whose safety?
Davis's safety while in custody?
I don't know. I don't know anything about his safety and his contacts or his relationships with people from 27 years ago. I don't have any information regarding that.
Steve, I spoke to Tupac Shakur's brother yesterday. He says he feels that this case wouldn't have gone without a breakthrough for 27 years if Tupac had been a white man. Would this have been solved more quickly if Tupac had been white?
We don't look at the color of a person's skin. We have a number of cold cases that excellent detectives work on every single day. And whether the person is white, black, red, blue, or green, we move based upon evidence and what we can present in a court of law.
Steve, a lot of people have said, why did this take so long, especially in the last few years? Mr. Davis was very vocal about his involvement. Is there a simple answer to that question?
The simple answer is that this is an important case. We wanted to make sure we did it right. We wanted to make sure we had legally admissible evidence. We wanted to make sure that we felt comfortable that we had sufficient legal evidence. You know, if you're going to charge a person with murder, he has a right to believe that the system would only bring charges if there was sufficient legal evidence. So we waited until the point in time when we had that degree of evidence to move forward.
So one of the points from
PD in recent years is that he has said that he has terminal cancer, he has cancer, he's very unwell. Is that playing any role in this criminal procedure?
I've heard the same comments as well, some of the statements he's made to the media. I don't know his current medical condition. I'm not going to speak to whether he's still suffering from cancer or not.
Do you think that the trial perhaps would be happening quicker because of the high profile of it, or when do you anticipate the trial likely?
Well, in a couple of weeks, when he's formally arraigned, he has a right to invoke the Speedy Trial Act, which means setting a trial within 60 days, or he can waive that right to a speedy trial, and then the trial would be set off into next year. We have to wait to see at the arraignment what he chooses to do. Anybody else?
All right, so that was the Clark County District Attorney there speaking after what was really an anticlimactic moment there in court. We're getting some new information here. Duane Davis showed up. We knew he would. I mean, he's behind bars, but apparently his attorney wasn't able to make it. That's why they had to continue this arraignment for 2 weeks from now. So that is where we're at right now. We heard from the Clark County DA, so really a non-movement today, even though we thought there would be a little bit of fireworks. But let's bring in our guest here on live now from Fox. This is Coco Dominguez from Fox 26 that continues to break down what we're seeing today, everything on Tupac, as well as going back to 27 years ago as well. Coco, thanks so much again for being here with us. We heard from the DA here. So really just now we're in a holding pattern.
Yeah, these next few days, it's just, I mean, all we can do is wait. We've waited how long? 27 years, another couple of weeks. It's not bad to wait. At least we know and when I say we, I just mean Tupac fans, people who've been looking for justice for this that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, so true. And, to think about just all these years in the making, and to think about that, it was known for quite some time that Duane was in that Cadillac, and to have that big of a gap in to have a murder and then a suspect there in court 27 years ago, even though we knew he was in that white Cadillac, I mean, that speaks volumes, I think, as well.
It does speak volumes, and you can look at it either way. You're right. For a long time, a lot of people did not think that they cared about the case. It just got swept away, and it's like, how can, and you would compare it to other cases. How can they make an effort to do that? And they never even bothered to try over here. And have they tried everything? Someone's got to know something. So the way I see it, no matter how long we had to wait, no matter what reason, and, everyone might have their own reasons for trying to solve it or be the one, as Keefe Davis as well, just to say, hey, it's me, I was the one, or whatever's going to happen. People want credit for what happened to Tupac or being able to solve or help that situation.
Yeah, so true. And what would you say that we know that you spoke with him, you met with Tupac. What would you say he's thinking up in heaven right now, looking at this court case that is finally coming?
I could never think about what Tupac might say. No one would ever guess what Tupac would say. So I don't even want to put words in Tupac's mouth because I don't know the situation at that time. I mean, Tupac didn't want to talk when the police asked him, I believe the day that he got shot, he didn't want to speak. So I don't know what he would be saying to the legal part of the situation because I don't know what he's thinking. In a bigger sense, I think he would be a little bit more disappointed with how the world is moving along, how the music is kind of carrying on. His ultimate goal was to help his people, to help oppression, to fight oppression. So I think that would be his bigger focus as a general. He'd be more concerned, I think, if I had to say anything about where we are with what the world is today.
Yeah, so true. And Coco, I want to show our viewers here, just in case new people are coming in and joining us here on Live Now from Fox. I do want to show you just a really brief moment that happened there in court. For all Tupac fans, this is what you waited for. 27 years in the making right now. The suspect coming into court there, Duane Davis, and to find out, well, his representatives weren't there, and that's why we had to continue this arraignment there. But what would you say as Tupac fan, but also speaking as far as in the community here, talking about what does this moment mean right now to see at least some sort of justice? Maybe, still he's a suspect. He hasn't been found guilty, but we're seeing this moment here of saying a suspect's in court for Tupac's murder.
It means that we may have an ending. Unfortunately, the Tupac story, when he passed away, his legacy lived on, but we might have answers, because for a long time it was ignored. It was ignored for many, many years. So to see someone in the courtroom maybe being tried for this, it's a big deal. I mean, and it will probably be, let's just say, he pleads not guilty and then he comes back guilty and all, however it plays out. If it plays out to where he's found guilty, I believe there will be a huge celebration. And I don't mean in the streets and stuff like that. I just mean personally, I think there'll be tears, just kind of to find an ending, but it does get a little emotional,
Oh, so true. And last question to you, before we wrap up our coverage here on Fox Soul is, Tupac, of course, was just a huge name at the time there. And why do you think that police at that time weren't so involved in that murder case when, it was a huge, huge name that got killed on the Las Vegas Boulevard?
In front, on the Las Vegas strips. I don't know why. I don't know how the police office, police department was thinking. I don't know if they didn't want to be involved with gang-related murder. I don't know any of that. So I couldn't really speak onto what the police department may have been thinking, or to be honest, it's what weren't they thinking? That you weren't thinking if you don't think that, if they thought people were going to let it sweep under the rug and forget about it and it just kind of evaporate into thin air, it didn't. His legacy lived on. Maybe they realized decades later, this isn't going away. He really was bigger than we could have imagined. That was to lose somebody in the middle on the strip just like that, and nobody knows anything. And it's it was a slap in the face then. So maybe, they just pawned him off as just a rapper, just, who cares what he is? Maybe he's popular for the moment. But like I said earlier, when I was reading this book, people are going to find out, and this is Stacey Robinson, it's the only state-authorized biography of Afeni Shakur before she passed away. This has been 20 years in the making. Asked Stacey to write this book. So the things that we're going to see, there are personal notes. If you see the way he thinks, from 8 years old, 11 years old, putting up different flyers, just trying to help the community in any situation, you see it a lot different. We've seen all of these documentaries, and by the way, Stacey's the one responsible for a lot of the documentaries, and I have some of the ones that she did. So she's the one with the Tupac Remembered, Bearing Witness to a Life. She also did the FX Dear Mama documentary that came out. So this is the same person telling the tale of what, of who he was, which I think is so much more important for people to learn about who he was, and, than just, they're going to see who left the earth. It wasn't just a rapper guy. It was someone just really trying to make a huge difference in our world, in our life, and the way we live, and the way, we carry on.
So true. Yeah, Tupac way beyond music there, and on so many levels, so much bigger than that. But Coco, thanks so much for coming on here on Live Now from Fox and helping us just bring some really great insight and wealth of knowledge that you have on Tupac and really the whole West Coast, East Coast vibe that was going on at the time. We really appreciate it. This won't be the last time we speak either, Coco. It's been now advanced for 2 more weeks, so I'm sure that we'll be speaking soon here.
Yes, we'll talk then for sure.
Okay, take care. You have a great one. And of course, we always got you covered here on Live Now from Fox, everyone. Our viewers on Fox Soul leaving us But, of course, we always appreciate them joining us here for our special coverage on Tupac here. Again, Duane Davis in court there, and this was the moment. It was a brief moment, but we saw him. That was the suspect arriving in court. It is now the arraignment continued for 2 weeks. His attorney's not able to make it today in court there. So that was a moment. Very, very quick, about 25 seconds. Not much was said there inside of the court there. But of course, we appreciate all our viewers continuing to join us here on this special coverage of Tupac's murder suspect in court there. Very quick one, but again, like we said, to be continued.